Welcome to 74 Escapes new podcast series Breaking Bread with Vera Loulou. I'm Vera, and I will take you on a gastronomic journey to explore food as an expression of cultural identity. I'll be hosting chefs and industry professionals from all over the world to discuss everything about this art form that really nourishes our souls. Let's start. Having had the pleasure to work with Chef Pascal Aussignac was one of the greatest experiences of my career. Today, I am so honored to be speaking with Chef Pascal. Pascal is one of the most innovative and dynamic chefs in London. He proclaimed his desire to be a chef at the age of 9 years old. His gastronomic pursuits led him to study under Gerard V and Alain de Tournier. Born in Toulouse and raised in La Rochelle, he developed an appreciation for his native French cuisine. He counts among his many accomplishments Michelin-starred Club Gascon, which has held its star for the last 20 years. Pascal is owner of the Gascon Connection Group, which boasts an impressive roster including Le Bar, Comptoir Gascon, and Cigalon, among many others. At every turn of his accomplished career, Pascal, who takes the rich, bold, and flavorful specialties of Gascony, foie gras, blood sausage, prunes, armagnac, and reimagines country cooking into dishes that are interesting and exquisite. And today, I'm so honored to welcome my friend, Chef Pascal, to this edition of Breaking Bread. Chef, how are you today?
Hello, Vera. Welcome to London. I'm very well. Thank you.
Pascal, you were first inspired by your mother. Tell me what it was like growing up in La Rochelle.
Wow. Okay, so back to long time ago. Actually, I should have been African. So that's for the little story, because my parents used to live in Mali, in Bamako. And when my mom was pregnant, at one point she became sick because of the weather and the area. So they decided to move back to France, to the family area, to the grandparents. So I was born in Toulouse, but after my dad has been transferred for his job to La Rochelle, so that's why we moved at very early stage. I was 3 months old when I moved to La Rochelle. So I'm Gascon by my name. By my family. Actually, Aussignac means the land of Gascony, or this area of Southwest. Is the Ac, make it very specific to the area. And I moved to La Rochelle, so I grew up in La Rochelle. After a certain time, my parents divorced, and my mom was in charge. And actually, because she was working during the week, on Sunday was the only moment for her to be able to manage the weekly mise en place for her lifestyle, and also taking care of myself. So she, from five years old, I was helping. I was kitchen assistant at home, and I loved it. And I really enjoyed to spend this time with, to put my hands inside the product and to see the evolution, transformation. So actually, I quite understood that I was more made as a job for the future, working with actively as the artisan way, or not really with my brain or the maths. You know, you need your brain obviously, but it was more the active side, of myself. And when I was going to school at one point, La Rochelle is a small city and everybody knows each other. And there was on the way to school the most beautiful jewelry shop, where the owner was a friend of my mom and my parents. And actually, I was doing a little hello time to time. And when I used to enter in this jewelry, I was like blown away by the beauty of the stones, the cut, the safety box, the ambiance. This kind of ultra luxe secret things. And I found the woman in charge gave me the name of what I wanted to achieve as a job, and it was a stone cutter. So I came back at home very proudly and I say, I know what I want to do. I was 8 years old. I want to become a stone cutter. And they look at me with a bit of a strange way, bit of a weirdo, and they say, after reflection, it's not going to happen because there are no school, there is no family tradition in this kind of
they crushed your dream.
So by default, I say, okay, doesn't matter, I will become a chef in that case. So from 9 years old, I knew that I wanted to become a chef. And the good thing is, La Rochelle is a very touristic city. You have a lot of restaurants. And I used to go, during the holiday time to help to see the ambiance of a kitchen lifestyle. And actually, that made a confidence from my family to say, okay, he's made for it. So he's going to do a cooking school. So I moved to Bordeaux when I was 14 years old. To the Lycée Hôtelier from Bordeaux, which is a very big one. And I had my exams. And when I was just 17 years old, just on my birthday, I had the exam because I was born in June. So, and I had the opportunity to work at near Paris, in Versailles, to a very famous restaurant at that time called Les Trois Marches, the Three Steps, in front of the Château de Versailles, Castle of Versailles. And the chef there was Gérard Vier, a 2 Michelin star chef. And I was normally doing just a 2 months stage there because I was going back to school. And during the summer, Gérard Vier told my family that if I wanted, I could stay to work properly as a commis and to learn the job, in this configuration. And obviously I said yes. We say yes. And from 17 years old onwards, I started my job. So I was quite lucky because I never lost any time. And from the school, I was already in a very good condition to understand more about the Grand Cuisine, Mm-hmm. And after I moved to different places, more in Paris. So all my training has been made in Paris with Alain Dutournier from the Carré de Feuillants, Guy Savoy, Jacques Le Divelec, Jacques Cagnat, and others. And when I was 25 years old, I wanted to have my restaurant.
Quite you ambitious. Were ready.
But I didn't have it. Yeah, already I wanted it. And I was very sad and frustrated to don't get it at that early stage, And I think I was quite ambitious, but
I think you still are.
I still are, but imagine I look young, but when I was 25, I looked very, very young. So nobody was trusting me. Baby face, yes. Nobody was trusting me. And especially the bank, when I wanted to set up a restaurant in Paris, with the budget and some kind of documents, and I was looking at the banks. They say I saw different, maybe 30 banks in Paris. That was the age of 28. Because in the meantime, I wanted to get some. I stopped the haute cuisine and I worked with a catering company called mm-hmm. Yes Reception, and the woman in charge was a very creative woman called Yafa Ederi. And she was a game changer of the catering industry. All the fashion in Paris, all the events. She changed the entire philosophy of this kind of boucher canapé snacks for the hot party in Paris. And I was in charge of not only me, but I was part of it and also dedicated to the private event. And I learned a lot because this job is as a chef, you need to be very creative and also very versatile in the job, because you need to be not just a chef. You need to understand the service point of view. You need to understand that a kitchen, if it's not a proper kitchen, even if it's at the back of a garden, you need to organize something quite nice. You need to adjust, adapt to different situations. You have a burner, it doesn't work. Okay, find a solution. And I think the catering industry gives you this kind of learning process of urgency, because it's a one night, one day, one event, and you can't miss it. And there are so many different mistakes or problems coming around because you need to join all forces in one go. It's completely opposite to the restaurant scene, because in the restaurant, customer comes to you, but normally everything is organized around. But when you create an event, it's for one-off, and you need to bring everything to the customer, no matter if it's a wedding, if it's a private dinner, if it's okay. So as you know, because you do private dinner, so you know exactly what I mean. So exactly. This is something which I learned during 3 years, and that gave me also some free time to organize the possibility to open a restaurant in Paris. unfortunately, the banks were quite cold to me because I was, as I say, I looked quite young, and they wanted warranties, and I said no, you bet on me, but I don't have any warranty from the family whatsoever. So actually, I was quite frustrated, and this is one of the reasons why I moved to London. Oh, not London for London. I moved abroad to set up something, to create something, to have a chance to do something else.
Voilà. Very interesting. So now you're a Frenchman living in London.
Indeed. It's over 2 decades. But the story of moving to London was also the fact that I met a Frenchman from a family which we were in trust together, and he was just divorced, and he was not. So his name is Vincent Laberry, and he was not in the restaurant industry, but he had a kind of maths and organization for creating something as a restaurateur. And
I had more the technique. Well.
Yes. And we decided to join forces, and we set up a virtual restaurant in Europe. Because talking about Gascony, because I'm from Toulouse and Vincent is from Dax, so both are from Gascony. So we wanted to defend a story of Gascony somewhere in Europe. And at that time, back in 1996, when we started to set up the idea, we did a good and a bad for different cities of Europe, and actually London won because of the competition, because of the internet booming, because it was no crisis at that time. It was like London was so big, and a very few restaurants dedicated to this kind of cuisine. So
and
that's why we moved
was
and we
not
set up
existing.
a place. It took a year to find the place, so it was not so easy. And especially when you are a foreigner, we never worked for anyone in UK, so we came in this country to set up a restaurant directly. So again, nobody is trusting you. Nobody is waiting for you. So you need to convince people, convince banks. But the difference between the two countries is that the banks in UK were much more relaxed and enthusiastic than the French one. And that's why we managed to set up the first restaurant, which we opened in 1998, called Club Gascon. And in the name of Club Gascon, you've got everything, because the club is a selection, and Gascon is the part of France, it's the southwest of France, between Bordeaux, Toulouse, and Biarritz. So a Club Gascon, it's a selection of Gascony. That's in the name, you've got everything of the DNA of the restaurant.
Yes. And you spent time traveling before Paris to after Paris as well, because you traveled the world, correct?
Yeah. I traveled the world because I did the army, and I spent 6 months in Tahiti on a sailing ship, which was a fantastic time. I worked in Florida, where I have part of my family living in Fort Lauderdale, so I was on a pastry section. Quite difficult, challenging to create some pastry with a different type of butter, flour, air conditioning for the tropical area. So very, very challenging. I work in Lebanon and also in Saint-Tropez and Grimaud. I was in charge of a restaurant. I create a restaurant in Grimaud in front of Saint-Tropez, but not with my money. It was a big company for 2 seasons, just before moving to London. And what else? Saint Bartholomew as well. So yeah, I did different things. Yeah, it was good. It was very interesting. Now I'm stuck to London mostly, but I travel with the Taste of London. The food festival, which I'm part since 14 years, since day one in London. Now they spread the festival all over the world, not maybe in the States, because you've got different festival name kind of taste as well, but it's not the same organization. And actually I am one of their ambassadors, so I do things in different parts of the world, which so I'm traveling with them as well.
So let's talk about our favorite Club Gascon. So what is the concept, and tell me about the small plates and how you organize the menu in the restaurant.
So Club Gascon, at the beginning, we wanted to do something which was quite different than what was the normal format of a French restaurant, a French offer. So talking back to Gascony, the southwest, the cuisine is very rich because we are talking about confit, cassoulet, foie gras. So if you travel to southwest, when you have to a bistro or any type of cuisine or restaurant there locally, you will have a big, the main course will be a massive main course, and actually you need a nap. Okay, but where we are in central London, and we are surrounded with the city of London, which we need to have people which are working around. So they can't sleep in the afternoon.
Time for
they need to work.
So
that's the first thing. The first thinking. Second thinking, Gascony is very linked to Spain area, to the Spain border, to the Basque area with San Sebastian, Bilbao. And, on that part, you've got the pinchos, you've got the tapas. So actually, that was the second thinking or logic. And the third one was the fact that when I look at my mom going to a restaurant, she was always preferring ordering 2 starters in general, in France, I'm saying, and not because for her, a main course was too big.
I was the same.
So actually, thinking of all of it, additional, we have organized Club Gascon, not anymore by a start, main, dessert, like it's the French ordonnance, of French cuisine or French restaurant, but much more with a small plate. And that was not a concept because, we need to be careful with the word of concept because a lot of people are pretending doing concept, but they are just managing things. And I think Club Gascon hasn't created something. It's not, we just readapt the situation that other type of cuisine, like the Spanish cuisine or the mezze, the Middle East way of eating, which was small plate in the middle of the table to share or to enjoy by yourself, but to have more flexibility. So the idea was to do French cuisine dedicated to the Gascon flavor, but on chapter of dishes by series. So actually to make a meal, you could have up to 4 to 5 plates. So the menu was, the organization was by series of plates, And we started this, and we were the first one in UK, or even in the world in terms of French restaurants, to make this class at that time.
Genius.
And actually, we had, it has been a storm because, coming from nowhere, being in an area which, this area, but 20 years ago, Smithfield Market, where we are, the mid-market was dead. It was like the city limit. Now the city limit is Stratford with the ex-Olympic game, but at that time, you had no light on the street, no pavement. So it was very, very edgy. And to do a French restaurant with an emphasis on foie gras, with small portion, it was just weird, Even the bank told us, don't open at night, you will have no one. We say, we need to reimburse the bank, So the first night, we had like 30 covers. And 3 weeks later, we had over 600 calls per day. And we were, we became like a game changer in the restaurant world, in the restaurant industry in London, I will say, on the London restaurant scene. And we were not prepared for such a success like this. We opened in October, it was cold, winter, people were queuing outside to get a table. Back at that time, you could smoke in a restaurant, people were drinking at lunchtime, you had Armagnac at the end, so it was a different way of lifestyle.
Different ambiance.
So it was just mad. The first month I lost 10 kilos because no one trusted us. And I had to go to the different markets. I was even sleeping on the banquet of the restaurant.
There was a lot of pressure.
I had no time to go back home. So it was pretty intense, but talking about it now, because I don't think that every day, but talking about the opening, it's great to see that when you think something, when you deliver a message, when people is against, or when things are against you, people are not thinking it's going to be manageable, and you make something and it becomes something, wow, and that is so positive and exciting at the end of the day, because you know what you have passed to make it possible, with which person you found that way, and you never copy someone else, so that this is why also it's very interesting, because our story to have a business partner still now the same, it's like a wedding in a way, you need to trust, because this business is not just you have 3 jobs in this business. You if you are a chef, you can't be front of house. You can't just also do with suppliers to do the maths at the back. It's so complex and complete that you need to delegate. You can't do things on your own, all of it. If you want to do it, you're going to the sink. You're going to die, because there's no way, if you want to do things properly, that you are going to survive this business. So you need to be in trust with some very few people to be able to achieve consistency over the years. So that's the story of Club Gascon and the origin and the concept.
But on top of it, you run in so many other restaurants. What are the challenges of managing so many establishments? It must be huge.
Yes and no, because what we do, we are not doing the same restaurants. So Club Gascon is unique. And we have next to the restaurant, on the same building, on the second angle, we've got the bar. So the bar is like a wine bar. It used to be a wine bar. Now it's more like a cocktail lounge bar with a small plate again. But I call them in that section the frappas. So it's the French tapas. So the frappas, I love the word because everybody understands it. And it was very, to translate small plate, petit plat, it's very, it's not sexy. It's not like.
Not original.
You want one word, you want to make
Unique.
it on one word. And actually, frappas, boom, it makes like the mezze, okay, you know what it is. So I want to develop the frappas. So you've got this frappa style, and also we have Comptoir Gascon, which is the deli and the bistro. And this is much more related to the terroir of Gascony. You got the classics, so you got the aligot, cassoulet, confit, foie gras terrine, prunes and armagnac. So things which are the squid with the Basque flavor. So you've got this kind of range, even the duck burger, the classics from Gascony with a twist. So that's these 3 places talking about Gascony are around the mid-market. We've got also, so my time spread during the day between Comptoir and Club. The rest of the company, Cigalon, for example, which is our Provençal restaurant, and the Baranis below, which is a pétanque bar, pastis, and talking about Saint-Tropez style. This is much more, it's in charge, it's Julien Carlon, which is worked for us since 15 years, and he's from Marseille, so he's more in charge of the place. So we have created the restaurant for him. So he's got the freedom to do the menu because he delivers his message from his part of France, So that's very authentic, genuine. And we have also we made Corsica included inside the style of the cuisine there. And we have also a fish and chip company called Catch Me, which is in a shopping mall, as you know, in the States as well. It's called Westfield. And that Westfield in Shepherd's Bush is the largest in Europe, was the first in Europe, which opened in 2008. And we were in the food court. So we are still in the food court. We changed the name because, when we have to update the lease, you need to update also the offer. So now the new name, which is from this year, or from last year, actually, is called Catch Me. Because a catch, as you know, it's a catch of fish. And so that's what we have. We have also a sleeping company called Duck and Roll, which is a street food company talking about duck, but so delivered on street food. So it's different type of menu, which we are doing. It's the French duck, but with recipes from the world. So it's more open to a broader audience, younger, but using the different parts of the duck. So that's why it's called like Duck and Roll, because the duck rocks you. That's the idea. Okay?
One of the favorite dishes that you created, which I think is absolutely genius, is bonbon foie gras. How did you come up with this?
But tell me, because I
it's
think you did it.
amazing.
You did it,
And I
no?
did it. And I did it for clients, and I had people who wrote me messages, and they said, "Oh my goodness, this is absolutely genius. How did you come up with this?"
I don't know. Actually, I don't remember. I don't remember. You know, recipe of foie gras, I have done hundreds. So it's very difficult for me to remember where, you know, on recipe, when you make so many, that how it came properly.
I understand.
There is one which I totally remember, because it's maybe the most creative one which I have done. It has been designed for the Queen's Jubilee in 2012, and it's called Marmite Royale. So the Marmite Royale, it's you know what is the Marmite in UK? It's one of the star of the UK product. And it's also as a subtitle, it's called also the love and hate. You love it or you hate it. And actually, foie gras for French or for the others, it could be also the love and hate. So actually, what I've done, I used a little pot of the baby pot of Marmite, emptied it, and did cook a flan of foie gras like a crème brûlée inside the pot of the Marmite, and reuse the Marmite, twist it to make it, I will say, more manageable for the French palate, because it's a bit too salty and too yeasty for my taste originally. And actually, it's covered. So when it's cooked, it's covered with that sauce, and the cup is back, and I serve it with soldiers. And actually, this dish won the best dish of London, because there is a very high message behind. I joined two countries with this kind of love and hate in the pot, and I do think this is maybe my funnily enough my best creation, and I'm proud of this dish, because actually, as a Londoner, because I live in London, so and I'm a British citizen now since 2 years, so I feel a Londoner with this kind of French way, obviously, and combining these two elements in London, I think it's a good representation
Very controversial.
of who I am and what we deliver in this country.
What I love about bonbons with foie gras is usually, you know, whenever something is hidden, it's almost like when it's a tortellini, or you don't know what's inside. So you don't think it's going to be foie gras inside, and it's also so delicate, and once you bite in, it's just so rich and delicious. I think it's absolutely genius.
But you know what? You can do it again and again.
I know, I have so much foie gras now.
You know, and you even can pretend it's yours. It's fine.
Do you think, I mean, you were one of the pioneers that changed London scene in the last 2 decades, because back then London was less and exciting with food. It must be really interesting to see how London's food scene evolved since you arrived and for the last 2 decades. Correct?
Yeah. When we arrived in London, you had the operators, which were even Gordon Ramsay was not on the map when I arrived in London. He was working at the L'Oranger with Marcus Vareng in '97, and Pierre Kaufmann was still on the end of. He was trying to sell his restaurant, which he did 2 years later. But the big operator were Marco Ladonis, Jean-Christophe Novelli, the big group of Terence Conran. So you had like big restaurants, like a more brasserie style, the Conran group. You had also Peter Gordon with the Sugar Club, and you had also a restaurant in Notting Hill called Pharmacy, designed by Damien Hirst. That was, and also the launch of Wagamama as a noodle place. So London was very eclectic, but obviously nothing to compare like now. When you see the evolution 2 decades after, it's a different city in terms of food scene.
Became a culinary destination. It went from world avoidance to culinary destination for many
Yeah, exactly,
critics.
exactly. You know, because of course London is quite rich, even with all this problem we encounter over the years. Um, there was such a lack of restaurant that, and London is so vast that every village of London needed to have some restaurant. Okay, now we could say there are maybe too many restaurants, and obviously the COVID will make also the life of this some restaurant on the bad way for the future, because we need to regulate, and it's not great, but and you know, I'm part of it, because we are all of us in danger zone. We don't know what will be the future. As we talk now, everything is on the evolution. So we are in June, but this week we are going to have some announcements with the government. We don't know what's going to happen in July or August at this stage. So to get a vision of the future is very difficult. To have seen from the past, in 2 decades, an amount of restaurants worldwide moved to London with amazing chefs, and also the British scene, the British culture, the young generation are taking part. So we are not just foreigners. Actually, we don't have so many French restaurants independent like myself. You have a lot of chefs which are not specially, they don't really own their restaurant, because the rent is very expensive, the investment is massive, so you need some backers, you need some sleeping partner, and obviously the market is very difficult, because rent are increasing massively. I'm sure in New York is the same, but London is very, very expensive to maintain the standard of a restaurant, and also the competition is very intense as well. So you can be very fast outdated. To survive and to get consistency, you need to rethink yourself all the time. If you stay on your laurels, you're over easily in London.
Whether you think that takeout would be sufficient to help some restaurants stay afloat? What do you think about that? Is takeout the new future for some of the restaurants?
The future, it's very challenging for me to say something about the future of restaurant in London or anywhere in the world. We are all in a kind of danger zone, because I have launched a month ago the takeaway for my bistro. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of restaurants now are doing it. Of course, we are not making a fortune from it. The staff is on furlough. We've got good landlords, so we have postponed our lease. So we are not paying at the moment, which is good, except for Westfield. Fantastic. Westfield as a shopping mall, we are numbers, so they don't really care. So we need to reopen Westfield, our fish and chip, very, very fast.
Catch me.
Today, actually, is the reopening of the shop. So Westfield is reopening all the shops, not the food, but the shops. So it means that they will bring now population into the shopping mall. So I'm sure we are going to have the next step. This is going to reopen in a way. You have seen the news in London. Ledbury is technically not reopening. Yeah. Yesterday was Caprice. It's an institution in London, 38 years old restaurant next to the Ritz, behind the Ritz in London. Caprice is like Scott, or is like the Ivy. It's a very, very famous restaurant for rich and celeb. Now not opening anymore. That was yesterday news.
Heartbreaking. Yeah.
So you see, you got some Michelin star like Texture is closing down.
Closing? Oh so no.
There are a danger zone from the Michelin star to brasserie to famous places. No one is exempt.
You just don't know.
And I think first is linked to the rent, where you are located in London. How much you spend, in a sleeping month where you have no taking. So that is very hard. Now, in our side, we have a little future, a little hope, I will say, because where we have Club Gascon, behind there is a church, the oldest church in town, and behind the church there is a garden. And this garden, I am in charge of the garden, not only me, but I am part of this responsibility, and I am also a beekeeper. So on this garden, I grow some edible flowers, plants, and some, a bit of vegetable for the restaurant. And also there is the first part, which we just had the agreements with the Church of England to be able to organize a garden club, a terrace. So we believe that in July, when restaurants should reopen, because hopefully from the 4th of July, normally some restaurants may reopen in London or in UK. So if you have a terrace, an outside space,
you're lucky.
You are much more into the possibility to be on this opening time. So with this terrace, obviously, it's going to be a new thing for me, because I need to organize a menu, a daytime menu, which is not Club Gascon. It will be something different, using the garden and using the barbecue. So it will be like a barbecue style, but with a bit of floral act. So it will be quite masculine and feminine at the same time, which I like the idea. And it will be a lunchtime every day, if the weather is keen. And it will be from 12 till 6 or 7 p.m. So it will be a lunch, and after the afternoon, and happy hour time with snacks, like frappes style. And
it's such a beautiful view. It's absolutely outstanding by the church. Yeah, it's magical.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric, and it will be a unique setup in the city of London, because the city of London has decided to get rid of all terrace, all outside space at the moment. So because we are in the church or in the garden of the church, we are protected.
Technically.
So I think this is going to be a good, for us to be able to manage this. So I'm quite excited for this new operation. And if it's a success, and if we survive this lockdown or the post-lockdown and next year, and if we prove this is a success, we are going to use for a full season that terrace again, because it's going to be something very additional for the area. So
I hope for you as well.
For the rest of the business in London, I don't know what to say. I think it's going to be very individual, how to process, how to
move on.
Yeah.
And
adjust to the situation, because not all the restaurants are able to do takeaway. If you are a 2 Michelin star restaurant, it's very difficult to provide a takeaway food at the level of a 2-star. And I don't believe that customers are keen to go to a very high-end restaurant where you have all this kind of plastic and sanitized, and a sommelier bring you, explanation with protected. It's possible, but I'm not sure customer will have the envy to spend that money. So we need to consider all of these things, because at the moment we reopen, we are not in furlough anymore, and we have full charge. So there is a danger zone, because at this stage, from what I heard in the city of London, most of the bankers, they are not going back to the offices until next year. So if the city, which is the most important generation of money for London, if they are staying or working from home on their computer and not physically commuting and back to their offices, we are in trouble. All restaurants, from pret-à-manger to high-end, because numbers will not be there, you see. And of course, staff are on danger zone as well, because if we are in danger, if we are not able to pay the rent anymore, we need to close down. So
I keep my prayers for you, and I hope the church and it will evolve where it will be a different maybe concept, but exactly. And then I will be the first one, as soon as UK will allow American citizens from New York enter your holy land. Chef Pascal, it was so wonderful to be breaking bread with you. I
Thank
really
you.
hope we can have a glass of Armagnac very soon, when we can look back and think of this pandemic in the past. And I just pray for the chefs and all the people in the restaurant industry to just stay strong and be positive.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to
Sounds
me.
good.
A little
And
drink,
salute.
not only one.
Salute and santé. Thank you so
Merci
much.
beaucoup.
Merci.
À bientôt. See you in
À
Europe or
bientôt.
me in the States. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.